Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
I guarantee you haven't heard about this story, but I did tell you about it, hoping you'd look it up before you got here.
I didn't look it up, but I saw a blip of it when it first broke last week.
Good. Then you'll have some idea what I'm talking about when I mention that Trump supporting Miss Michigan stripped of title over, quote, racist tweets. Yet another example of MAGA phobia.
Holy shit, she's hot.
She is a very attractive young thing. You can follow her on Twitter at PoliticalCathy, but I'm just going to read about this story before we dig into what was said. Where are you?
Okay, it looks like she supports them.
She's wearing a MAGA hat, yes. The Miss World America organization is under fire after stripping a President Donald Trump supporting model of her Miss Michigan title over, quote, racist, Islamophobic, and insensitive tweets. Kathy Zhu, she's 20, and is a University of Michigan student who won the 2019 Michigan World America title on Sunday. However, her reign was cut short after organizers became aware of her controversial Twitter account days later. So she took to Twitter to post screenshots of Thursday's email and text exchanges with the state director of the Miss World America pageant. Not to be confused with Miss Universe, formerly owned by Trump. Laura DeJacque, who said that the MWA came across Zhu's account, where the beauty queen goes by @PoliticalCathy, and felt that her content was in violation of the organization's rules and conditions.
What? Thou shalt not speak truth.
Right. Because it might upset some people. And so Kathy tweeted out, Miss World America's state/national/chief director accused me of being racist, Islamophobic, and insensitive. They stripped me of my Miss Michigan title due to my refusal to try on a hijab in 2018, my tweet about black-on-black gun violence, and, quote, insensitive statistical tweets. And then there's a screenshot of the conversation with the MWA, and she's getting tons of support. And they sent her a text stating, do not go out representing Michigan World America. We have a problem. Just notifying you that we have an issue and we will need to talk.
Why?
And a later email included the national director and COO of MWA, and they went on to explain that Zhu allegedly violated the contestant requirement of being of good character and not being, quote, likely to bring into disrepute Miss World America or any person associated with the organization. So they don't want anybody to say anything that's controversial. They don't want anybody to have conservative views or speak inconvenient truths because it might rankle some feathers.
Yeah, because you know full well that if one of the contestants started saying, fuck Trump and I like to eat, what the hell do Muslims eat?
Pork? They don't eat pork.
What do they eat? Goat?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if they came out and were spewing left diatribe bullshit hate speech, it would have been fine. Because the double standards.
Now let's get into the actual tweets that got her in trouble. And in 2018, when she was at Central Florida University, freshman, she goes by Kathy Zhu, Z-H-U, I'm hoping I'm fucking pronouncing that correctly. She approached the Muslim Student Association booth celebrating World Hijab Day and declined to wear the hijab. After her interaction with the Student Association, she tweeted about it. There is a try a hijab on booth at my college campus. So you're telling me that it's now just a fashion accessory and not a religious thing? Are you just trying to get women used to being oppressed under Islam?
I like that.
Zing! I'll fucking give you that. That was spot on. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but, man, some of these fucking right-wing conservatives are really starting to resonate with me, probably because the left is just crazy.
They've gone so far to the fucking left, it's insane. If you have to think about it, back in JFK's period of time, you listen to his speeches, he sounds like Republicans today. Which means both parties have moved left.
Interesting. That's a tectonic shift for the left.
That's a tectonic, but that's going to crazy fucking town, though.
Oh, yeah. So the second tweet that was, quote, controversial happened when she replied to a tweet and said, did you know the majority of black deaths are caused by other blacks? Fix problems within your own community before blaming others.
Oh, how dare she?
Yes. In a response email to the MWA, the body that stripped her of her title, the current University of Michigan student questioned if the company knew what insensitive meant. Also, Zhu addressed the Central Florida incident by saying the Muslim women tried to forcibly put the hijab on her head. And she told the company that stats and facts are not always pleasant. So they basically called her tweet about black-on-black crime insensitive, which to me screams of an organization that's only bowing to the PC extremists and is effectively tone-deaf and unself-aware, because most black crime is committed against blacks.
Well, it comes with, I can't listen to the truth because I don't agree with it.
And yes,
that's the proper way to say that.
Once again, I will state blacks are responsible for a disproportionate amount of crime versus their percentage of the population. That being said, if they live in predominantly black neighborhoods in poor areas, it stands to reason there's going to be more drugs and theft and crime in general. And if you're not leaving that cozy little nook of poverty, you're going to prey upon your own kind. That's how you get so much black-on-black crime, especially gun crime. Look at fucking Chicago.
The toughest gun laws, gun restrictions, and anti-gun laws in the country. Worst gun crime.
Furthermore, Zhu questioned the company's motive in repealing her crown, stating, "To hurt, embarrass, and strip the title of a 20-year-old woman studying political science all because one person's complaint not only shows how gullible you are to Photoshop tweets, but also shows you have no dignity to do what is right." She thanked people for their overwhelming support and has not decided if she will take any legal action. So now that I've talked about the story and I've talked about what she said and we know the fallout, she was stripped of the title, she doesn't know if she's going to take legal action. Here's why I wanted to talk about this on the show. This is a matter of censorship.
Yes, it is.
And people could say, well, you signed up for the pageant and you agreed to abide by their rules. And it's just like anybody that ever gets into trouble for old tweets. You said these things. You cannot measure the past by today's standards. You don't need to be hypersensitive to somebody saying something that triggers you because she didn't say anything that was untrue. She made a very witty retort about the way that the Muslim American club at her college in Central Florida was having people try on hijabs. Now, maybe they were just trying to show them what it felt like to kind of give them an idea of what it's like to be a Muslim woman.
To be oppressed.
Pretty much, because in all of those countries, women are forced to wear hijabs or cover their faces completely.
They're forced. They don't have a choice.
And some of them that don't are stoned to death or raped to death or shot or fucking attacked in the face with acid by these goddamn piece of shit Muslim men that think that guys should control everything and that women should be oppressed. I think that's ridiculous, and it's one major reason why I could never be a Muslim. Back to my argument about this being censorship.
Yeah.
I'm not a right-wing conservative.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there's a lot of sick people with that mindset that use their religious beliefs and their white pride to act like they're better than everybody.
So you're, in my opinion, you're referring to like the Ku Klux Klan or some shit like that.
I will never agree with idiotic rhetoric that imposes some false ideal that one race or gender or orientation is better than another. But I will defend to the death their right to say it. So once again, white guys with fucking tiki torches have all the right in the world to say all that stupid, hateful shit.
Yep, they have the right.
That doesn't mean you need to fucking destroy their lives for it. It doesn't mean they need to be shut up or made to disperse. Let them fucking do it so we know who the assholes are. They have the right to say that every bit as much as you have the right to tell them to shut the fuck up. That is why we have the First Amendment. And you could argue, well, they're saying hateful things and hate speech isn't protected. So walking around with a sign that says, and nobody nail me to a cross here it comes, God hates faggots. Lord knows there's been enough of those fucking signs around. Or, I hate niggers. Hateful things to say, idiotic mindsets, I'm stating them referentially.
Yeah.
It does not protect that shit. But if you were to say, white people are better than blacks, borderline hate speech, it's inherently hate speech. Depends upon the predicate of the rest of that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
White people are better than blacks at golf. Statistically speaking, yes. At not getting shot by the police, I would argue you are correct again. But This is a very dangerous game that people are playing with trying to silence opposing views. It just the extremism and mindsets between political ideology and social candor in this country has me just dumbfounded. Nobody can sit down and say, well, let's talk about this. And I actually was sitting down and watching Louis C.K.'s drama series, Horace and Pete, because it's on Hulu. Came out in 2016, obviously long before the shitstorm. Mm-hmm. And I had always waited to see it until it was on a platform available to me. It was brilliant. I enjoyed all 10 episodes very much. They're of varying length of 34 minutes to like 62. I recommend it if you have Hulu. It takes place in a bar called Horace and Pete's, which has been open for 100 years and run by various iterations of a Horace and a Pete, always relatives, typically mostly brothers. So there's a guy in between a conservative and a liberal, and he says, listen to how you talk about liberals and listen to how you talk about conservatives. It's no wonder that you two cannot get along or reach across the aisle or find some middle ground. I want you to define for me, Mr. Liberal, what a liberal is. And he does. And he asks the conservative. Having had him describe his own belief system and not in the terms that you use, does it sound a little bit more palatable and respectable? He's like, yeah, I can see what he means by that. Okay, I get what you're doing. They do the reverse. The conservative defines conservatism. And the liberal goes, okay, well, when you put it like that, yeah, I understand. Nobody wants to have the conversations because that involves work. That's difficult. You have to challenge yourself to step outside of your fucking comfort zone to hear what somebody else has to say. This is why we have this extremism. And nobody should be telling anybody what to not put on Twitter. And the fact that Twitter is banning people like Alex Jones, who's a fucking screwball, and I think he's nuts, and he can suck a fucking RPG like it's a dick for what he said about Sandy Hook not being real. But they have kicked him off of every social media platform. He has followers. He has like-minded individuals that believe in what he says. There are people that want to go to InfoWars and be immersed in all of that. And they could be right, they could be wrong. I'm not saying boo in either direction. But you're censoring them. You're only honoring the wishes and mindset of the left, of the sensitive PC elite, by kicking people like Milo Yiannopoulos off of anything, by kicking Alex Jones off of Twitter and Facebook. You're affecting their ability to make money because they make money being a figurehead, spouting off at their soapbox about a certain slant of political ideology, and you don't agree with it, so now you're stopping them from making money?
See, that's just it. They only do it to the people they don't agree with. So,
imagine if you had like a Riley Dennis. The way that he spouts his shit at 100 miles an hour, and you know that he does numerous takes, and he has a makeup person, and a lighting person, and a professional cameraman for his YouTube channel. He's a fucking brand. It's a business for him. So if another trans person decided to shut Riley Dennis down, well, they would call that trans-on-trans hate. Would you accuse them of transphobia? It's another trans person.
Transformers?
Maybe, I don't know. But say some fucking straight white guy says, fuck you, Riley Dennis. You're a faggot because you dress like a girl, and I don't understand you because you now have a female penis and stick it in your girlfriend's female vagina, and the Bible says that my head's about to explode when I think about that. Fuck you. I love baby Jesus. Is how those screwballs would sound in my head. That's how they sound.
It actually sounds a little bit like what they do sound like.
So if somebody said that, you goddamn better believe that Riley Dennis's followers are going to go ape shit on Johnny Reb there spouting his fucking Bible Belt bullshit. But if another trans person attacks another trans person, well, now we got to pick sides. Just like you said, they're only going after people with opposing views.
Yep.
So if I have somebody with opposing views and they want to have a conversation, it turns into a heated argument and we shout and cuss, I'm not going to consider anything they say to me to be relatively offensive because it's in the heat of the moment and I understand that they're angry. Or
even personal at that point. You're just having a discussion. Except a lot of times, one side or the other, and it's usually one particular side, I'm going to have to say it, the left, resorts to name-calling and shutting down and screaming racism and all that shit. I
Oh,
mean,
don't forget
it happens
putting
every
on
time.
don't forget putting on bandanas across their face and bike helmets, and then running into crowds of people and starting riots. Looking at you, Antifa.
I just saw a news article that there's legislation being put forth in the Senate that labels Antifa a domestic terrorist group.
Fucking yes, good.
Yep, that's what I
Fuck those
thought.
assholes.
The picture underneath the headline was a picture of an Antifa member with a sign that says, "All my heroes kill cops."
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
If I was
telling.
a cop, I wouldn't do a damn thing to help that person.
Well, it's just like Antifa girl.
Yeah.
The chick that, she went to a protest looking to take Nazi scalps, and then she ends up getting punched in the fucking mush, which I was going to say, if a woman being physically assaulted were to give me an erection, that would be the video that would probably do it. I'm not saying I like to see women get beat up, but when that bitch ate that dude's fist, holy Christ, did I want to toss one off right there in a Dixie cup and then sprinkle it with Bacos. I don't know why my mind went there, but that's just the first.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. So my point is we need to stop censoring the opposing view. I would never try to shut down any KKK website. I know that makes me sound like I'm possibly sympathizing with them, but I'm not.
It's not.
Because I want that to exist, so I know that that's out there, because possibly we could figure out who the people that belong to that website are, so we know who the pieces of shit are. And I'm not
Don't
saying
shop at their store. Don't hang out with them. Yeah, shit like that. Yeah, I don't want to shut people down, but what I would love to have is a nice civil discussion.
Well, I find it very interesting that you just discussed peaceful means of protesting their opposing ideology without it coming to blows, without it being a riot, without assault. I'm not going to shop in your stores. I'm not going to be friends with you. Isolationism is every bit as effective as cracking somebody across the fucking skull with a baseball bat.
Mm-hmm.
One is physical pain, one is emotional pain.
Emotional seems to be more effective in some ways.
So I don't understand how you're going to take Miss Michigan. Yes, she's a figurehead, but fuck your pageant, because your pageant isn't politically affiliated, nor should it be. You're always going to have conservative women in these pageants. I don't care if left-wing extremism is the soup of the day. Get the fuck over yourself. Let @Political Kathy say whatever the fuck she wants. She wasn't like, I hate black people, she pointed out.
Statistically, black and black crime is more blacks are killed by other blacks. It's
Well,
statistic.
the second half of that tweet was not in that story, and I found the tweet and I read it. And she said, worry more about fixing your own communities before you tell the rest of us how to live.
Yeah, you read that, yeah.
And oddly enough, that sounds a lot like what Trump said about, quote, the squad. Stop telling Americans how to better their country and go back to the country that you're from that is riddled with crime and fix that place. And then once you do that, then come back and let us know how you did it. Now, he was being a dickhole when he said that, because 3 out of the 4 people that he aimed it towards, allegedly, because he didn't name names as far as I could read, are from America. Only Ilhan Omar was born overseas.
And she's got a whole shit pot of stuff brewing up for her as it is.
The point is I think that Trump was right in what he said in the sentiment that people that come from other countries should not come to America and tell us we're doing shit wrong and we need to change to what they want us to do when they escaped their shithole birth country.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds terrible that I'm saying this, but go the fuck back home and fix Somalia, fix the Sudan, fix Venezuela, fix Brazil, fix all these other fucking countries.
If you don't like where you live, go live somewhere else.
Yeah.
If I didn't like Minnesota anymore, I wouldn't live here. I'd move somewhere else. There's 4 states around us. I can pick one.
Right. And when I say go back to your country, I'm not like, go back to your country, fuck you, white power. That's not where I'm going with this. What I'm saying is, don't talk about it, be about it, because actions speak louder than words. So go and effectively activate change in your home country, because you came from there. I'm sure you still have a sense of national pride, and you would love for it to be a safe haven and a utopia for you and your family to thrive, but it's not. And what if you were to go back, and what if you were to bring people with you who didn't come from there, and you fixed all these broken nations? If we went into the Middle East, not Americans, but people from the Middle East went into the Middle East back there and fucking fixed all these shithole countries. like Syria, like Iran, like Iraq. Instead of running from ISIS, there had to be some fucking guns available.
From what I understand, because I know a guy who was stationed overseas, did 3 tours, most citizens don't have guns over there.
Oh, but there's some available.
They could get them, but nobody has them.
So what you do is you take a knife and you jump some ISIS dickhole and you stab him in the throat and take his AK-47, and then you gun down a bunch of his buddies. Lather, rinse, repeat. ISIS problem solved. Maybe you die while doing it, and nobody wants to be a martyr, but, well, maybe there's some things worth dying for. And one of them is freedom. And freedom is the First Amendment, freedom of speech, which is why, at Political Kathy Zhu, should be able to say those things without fear of repercussions and people trying to fucking ruin her life. Because now you're going to have people for the remainder of her adult working life looking back at when this happened and being hesitant to work with her or to hire her or to be associated with her. She's basically being given a scarlet letter by the Miss World America pageant.
Which, honestly, with how much attention this is getting, it's probably going to backfire on the pageant.
I hope so, because I'm fully in support of her.
I think there's going to be people seeking her out.
She didn't make any hateful comments.
No, she didn't.
One was an anecdote of a situation that she did not feel comfortable in, and she made a very poignant observation about the mindset of the people involved. Now, whether they actually deserve to be told that, it's not important. She didn't say, "Fuck you, you towel heads," or anything hateful. She didn't. She was respectful. Just like when she talked about black-on-black crime. You know, I just don't think that anybody needs to tell anybody what to put in their fucking tweets. Just ignore it. Nobody made you read it. I'm sorry that the truth hurts. I'm sorry that it's easier to point a finger and say, "How dare you," than to really sit there and go, "Fuck, she's right." Change is not easy. But it's a hell of a lot more worth it than ruining people's lives over things they say that you don't agree with. Fuck off. We have all said shit that rubs people the wrong way. Myself especially, I have burned a number of bridges in my day, and I could give 2 shits less because I would rather speak the truth and suffer for having said something that somebody didn't like that was meaningful and deserved than to cower in the corner just for the sake of being well regarded and respected and keeping my mouth shut.
Well said.
Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
And I'm number 1 fan, Tim.
And that's the end.